There are people who love loudly. They text first, confess too much, look into your eyes as if they are reading poetry written only for them. And then there are the dangerous ones, the quiet ones, the proud ones, the ones who act as if your absence is nothing more than a small change in the weather. They will walk past you with a calm face. They will answer your message with 3 cold words. They will laugh with other people just a little too loudly, as if trying to prove they are untouched. But when the night comes, when the room is dark, when the phone is silent and their pride has no audience, that is when the truth begins to breathe. Some zodiac signs are masters of emotional disguise. They do not hide because they feel nothing. They hide because they feel too much. They pretend not to care because caring makes them feel exposed, vulnerable, almost powerless. For them, love is not a cute little game. It is a storm, a mirror, a wound, a temptation, and sometimes a battlefield. They may not say your name, but they remember your voice. They may not look at your photos, but they know exactly which one still hurts. They may act distant, but their mind returns to one conversation, one touch, one unfinished moment again and again. The most fascinating thing about these signs is that they often confuse others. You may think they have forgotten you. You may think they have moved on first. You may even feel foolish for still sensing something between you. But astrology teaches us that silence is not always emptiness. Sometimes silence is where the deepest feelings hide. Some people do not chase because they are afraid of meeting someone. Some do not confess because they are terrified of rejection. Some disappear not because they are indifferent, but because your presence shakes something inside them they cannot control. These 6 zodiac signs can pretend beautifully. They can put on a mask of calm, sarcasm, independence, or cold logic. But deep inside, they are replaying scenes, imagining what they should have said, wondering whether you still think of them too. And the most shocking part, the more they act like they do not care, the more likely it is that you have already become the thought they cannot escape. Scorpio. Scorpio is the sign that can look at you as if you mean nothing and still feel your absence like a knife under the ribs. This is not a sign that forgets easily. Scorpio remembers energy. They remember the way you looked at them when you thought they were not paying attention. They remember small betrayals, small tenderness, the exact moment something changed in your tone. When Scorpio pretends not to care, it is rarely because the feeling is gone. It is usually because the feeling became too intense, too dangerous, too difficult to control. A Scorpio in love can become almost silent when hurt. They may not beg. They may not send dramatic paragraphs. They may not publicly collapse. Instead, they pull their soul behind locked doors and act like nothing happened. But at night, Scorpio becomes their own detective. They analyze your last message. They remember the timing of your silence. They wonder whether you meant that one sentence casually or whether it carried a hidden confession. They may tell themselves they are done, but their intuition keeps dragging them back to you. The secret about Scorpio is that they do not only miss people, they merge with memories. If you touch something sacred in them, you do not simply disappear. You become part of their inner mythology. They may delete the chat, but they remember every emotional turning point. They may unfollow you, but they still sense when your energy changes. Scorpio can act cold enough to make you believe the door is closed forever, while privately standing behind that door every night, listening for your footsteps. Their pride is powerful because their vulnerability is enormous. Scorpio fears being the one who cares more. They fear looking weak. They fear giving someone the weapon that could destroy them. So they test themselves by staying silent. They test you by waiting. They want proof that the connection was not only in their imagination. If Scorpio thinks about you every night, they will not always come running. Sometimes they will disappear deeper, hoping you will feel the magnetic pull and return without them having to expose the wound. But here is the truth. When Scorpio truly cares, indifference is often their costume, not their reality. Their "I don't care" may be the most passionate lie they ever tell. Capricorn. Capricorn is one of the most misunderstood signs in love because they can appear emotionally unavailable even when they are deeply attached. This is the sign that may answer calmly, work harder, stay busy, and act as if romance is just one small part of life. But do not be fooled. Capricorn's heart does not move quickly, and when it does, it leaves marks. They may not flood you with sweet words, but they build entire futures in their mind with terrifying seriousness. When Capricorn pretends not to care, it often comes from control. They do not like emotional chaos. They do not like looking needy. They do not like feeling as if one person has the power to disturb their schedule, their confidence, their ambition, their sleep. So if you hurt them, confuse them, or make them feel uncertain, Capricorn may become colder than winter glass. They will act practical. They will say they are focused on work. They will pretend they have no time for emotional drama. But late at night, when all responsibilities are finished, you return. Capricorn thinks in timelines. They remember what could have been. They imagine whether you would have fit into their life long term. They wonder whether they misjudged you, whether they gave too little, whether they protected themselves so much that they lost something real. Capricorn's nightly thoughts are not always sentimental. Sometimes they are painful calculations. Was I right to pull away? Did they understand me? Would we have made it if I had been softer? This sign may not cry in front of you, but they can carry regret like a stone in their chest. Their love language is often loyalty, effort, and quiet responsibility. That is why losing someone they secretly valued can shake them more than they admit. Capricorn may seem unbothered because they keep functioning. They still go to work. They still answer emails. They still make plans. But functioning is not the same as healing. Sometimes their entire day is organized and disciplined, while one private corner of their mind belongs only to you. If Capricorn still thinks about you, they may show it indirectly. They may check whether you are doing well. They may ask mutual friends one careful question. They may suddenly improve themselves, not only for success, but because your memory awakens something unfinished in them. Capricorn rarely chases dramatically, but they remember deeply. And sometimes the person they pretend not to need becomes the person they measure everyone else against. Aquarius. Aquarius is the sign that can disappear into distance so convincingly that you begin to doubt whether the connection ever mattered. They can become friendly but unreachable, polite but emotionally unavailable, present but somehow miles away. This is their strange magic. Aquarius can care deeply while acting detached, because feelings confuse them when they become too intense. They are comfortable with ideas, freedom, dreams, conversations, unusual bonds, but raw emotional dependence can frighten them. When Aquarius pretends not to care, it is often because they do not want to feel trapped by their own emotions. They may tell themselves, "It's fine. People come and go. Life moves on." They may distract themselves with friends, projects, music, technology, travel plans, anything that keeps the heart from becoming too loud. But Aquarius has a mind that never fully shuts off. And if you were different, if you reached a part of them most people never touch, they will think about you in the quietest hours. The secret about Aquarius is that they often fall in love through the mind before the heart admits anything. They remember your strange jokes, your opinions, the way you saw the world, the one conversation that felt like electricity. They may not miss you in the obvious romantic way at first. They may miss your brain, your presence, the feeling that with you they could be more honest, more unusual, more alive. Then one night it hits them. They were not just interested, they were attached. Aquarius can be frustrating because they often realize the depth of their feelings after they have already acted distant. They may have told themselves they needed space, only to discover that space feels empty without you in it. They may pretend not to care because they fear emotional expectations, but their thoughts betray them. They replay your words. They imagine alternate endings. They wonder what would happen if they sent one message after weeks of silence. Then they talk themselves out of it, because pride and fear of vulnerability are louder than longing. If Aquarius thinks about you every night, they may not confess it directly. They may reappear casually, as if nothing happened. They may send a meme, ask a random question, or comment on something small. But underneath that casual tone may be a heart trying to knock without admitting it is at the door. Virgo. Virgo is not cold in love. Virgo is careful. There is a difference, and it matters more than most people realize. This is a sign that feels everything through observation. They notice changes in your voice, small inconsistencies in your behavior, the mood behind your smile, the hidden meaning behind what you did not say. But instead of immediately revealing what they feel, Virgo analyzes it, dissects it, questions it, and often buries it under logic. That is why they can seem composed even when their heart is in complete disorder. When Virgo pretends not to care, it is often a defense against disappointment. They do not want to look foolish for loving someone who is uncertain, inconsistent, or careless with emotions. So they become restrained. They focus on details, work, routines, practical tasks, anything that gives them the illusion of control. But at night, control weakens. Virgo starts replaying everything. They think about the moment you changed, the message they should have answered differently, the argument that could have gone another way. They do not just miss you, they mentally revise the story again and again, hoping to understand where it turned. Virgo's secret pain is that they often show love through effort rather than grand confessions. They remember what you needed. They remember what made you laugh. They remember your habits, your sensitivities, your fears. So when someone matters deeply and then becomes distant, Virgo does not simply shrug and move on. They continue carrying invisible care long after they stop showing it. They may act indifferent, but their mind remains busy with your name in places no one can see. If Virgo thinks about you every night, they may not say, "I miss you." Instead, they may improve themselves, organize their life, or pretend they are too mature for emotional mess. But hidden beneath that composed surface is someone wondering whether you still remember the tenderness they never fully knew how to express. Leo. Leo can act like they are absolutely fine even when their heart is secretly on fire. This sign has pride, dignity, presence, and because of that, they hate letting anyone see them ache. Leo wants to be admired, desired, unforgettable. So when someone wounds them or leaves them uncertain, they often respond by lifting their head higher, smiling brighter, and pretending the loss barely touched them. But Leo's heart is far softer than their image suggests, and what they hide with style, they often feel with painful intensity. When Leo pretends not to care, it is usually because they cannot bear the humiliation of seeming unwanted. They would rather act distant than let you see how deeply they hoped for more. They may post happier photos, throw themselves into social life, flirt, shine, perform strength, but none of that means they are free of you. In fact, the louder the performance, the more likely it is that something unresolved still burns beneath it. At night, Leo remembers emotional details with surprising tenderness. They think about how you made them feel chosen or how you failed to. They return to the moments when your attention felt like sunlight and to the moments when it suddenly disappeared. Leo is a sign of the heart, and once you have truly reached that heart, you do not leave quietly. Even if they never admit it, they may compare new people to you, not because they want to stay stuck, but because real emotional impact is rare for them. Leo also thinks in dramatic emotional contrasts: what was promised, what was given, what was lost. They may imagine what would happen if you returned. Would they forgive? Would they finally say what they really felt? Would they protect their pride and walk away? These are the thoughts that keep Leo awake, not because they are weak, but because love, for them, is never casual when it is real. If Leo still thinks about you every night, you may notice it in the way they linger in your orbit without fully stepping closer. Their silence is not always emptiness. Sometimes it is wounded pride dressed as indifference, while the heart beneath it still whispers your name, Taurus. Taurus is the sign that seems steady, calm, and impossible to shake, but when they become emotionally attached, they hold on much longer than anyone expects. Taurus does not rush into deep feelings. They need trust, safety, comfort, consistency. But once they let someone into their private emotional world, that person becomes tied to their routines, their senses, their memories, their inner idea of home. And that is exactly why Taurus can pretend not to care while still thinking about you every night. When Taurus is hurt, they often retreat into silence instead of spectacle. They do not always explain what they feel. They do not enjoy chaotic confrontations. They prefer to protect themselves by becoming still, distant, unreadable. On the outside, it may look like stubbornness or emotional laziness. On the inside, it is often heartbreak mixed with pride. Taurus hates being pushed into vulnerability before they feel safe, so if the bond becomes unstable, they may act as though they are done even when they are far from over it. The truth is that Taurus remembers people through feeling. A place can remind them of you. A song, a scent, an ordinary evening. The way the air felt during one important conversation, all of it can bring you back. Taurus may continue with life calmly, but that does not mean they have released the emotional imprint. They are haunted not only by what happened, but by what felt secure and then was taken away. That is very hard for this sign to forget. At night, Taurus may think about whether you were real, whether the comfort between you could have lasted, whether they should have fought harder or protected themselves sooner. They are not always dramatic about longing, but their attachment runs deep. Roots do not disappear just because the season changes. They remain under the surface, alive, hidden, waiting. If Taurus still thinks about you every night, they may never confess it in a theatrical way, but they will feel your absence in quiet moments more than they want anyone to know. There I'm fine can hide an entire inner world of memory, desire, and unfinished attachment. So who are these 6 signs that pretend they do not care while secretly thinking about you long after midnight? Scorpio, Capricorn, Aquarius, Virgo, Leo, and Taurus. Each of them hides emotion in a different way behind pride, logic, distance, discipline, analysis, or silence. But the result is the same. What looks like indifference on the surface may actually be a heart fighting very hard not to reveal itself. That is the great mystery of astrology, and love. The loudest feelings are not always spoken, and the deepest attachment does not always come with visible tears. Sometimes the one who seems the calmest is the one replaying your memory every night. Sometimes the one who never chased is the one who never forgot. And sometimes the person who acts as if you meant nothing is the very person whose thoughts still return to you when the world finally goes quiet.
Your zodiac sign can tell you more about you, your future life, about your partner. And just open my YouTube channel and enjoy it. Subscribe to my channel, and I will be happy to have you here. Thank you for your attention.